By 14, her pranks had gotten crazier and she had 10,000 followers. She started targeting strangers with lies, weaving stories to spark chaos. She'd take people's children at the park, watch them search for their kids, and return the kids to the family after a while. She'd video them arguing, accusing each other of negligence. One of her Lost Kid Chaos videos showed a mother nearly getting a heart attack after discovering her kid was missing. That particular video had over 15,000 views, and she bragged about it at dinner.
These people are so gullible, Amelia.
Soon, she began racking hundreds of dollars in. She bought better equipment, like a GoPro for sneaky angles. Her stunts became elaborate, crossing lines I couldn't even fathom. One Saturday, she poured liquid soap across a mall's floor near an escalator and hid in a nearby store with her camera rolling. Shoppers slipped, their bags flying. A mother with a stroller almost fell. A teen's smoothie splattered. An older man fell hard. Lila couldn't stop laughing as she edited the clips later, adding cartoon Boeing sounds to the crashes. My younger sister Lila was always hungry for more. Even as a kid, she'd hoard candy, snatch toys, and cry if she didn't get the biggest slice of cake. It was as if greed was woven into her bones, like a fire that burned brighter with every year. By the time she hit middle school at 13, she discovered YouTube, where she said creators raked in fortunes. We weren't poor. Our parents had stable jobs, and our house was filled with everything we needed. But Lila's hunger wasn't about need. It was about power, and about having more than anyone else. I was 17, watching her spiral, but I was powerless to stop it.
Why should I wait for Mom and Dad's money? I'm gonna be rich, Amelia. You'll see.
That's when Lila launched her YouTube channel, Lila's Vibe. At 13, her heart set on fame. She was obsessed with dance challenges and the viral routines that lit up her phone screen. She'd haul our tripod to the backyard, prop her phone against it, and dance under the sun, mimicking influencers. She'd spend hours editing, layering sparkly filters and bold text, certain that each video would catapult her to stardom. But after a month, her channel was still stuck at just 50 subscribers, who were mostly her classmates and a few of our cousins who pitied her. Lila realized that dance videos weren't cutting it. She craved something louder, something to make the world bow to her. That's when she discovered pranks. Lila switched gears immediately, diving into scary pranks with a scary zeal. Her first stunts were small but cruel, designed to startle and humiliate people. At school, she'd wedge herself into lockers during lunch and hide her phone in her backpack, waiting for unsuspecting freshmen to pass. Then she'd burst out with a piercing scream and laugh at them when they flinch and stumble. Some would spill their lunch trays out of shock. One video captured a quiet boy tripping over his own feet, his soda splashing across the floor while Lila laughed. She titled it Locker Freakout Frenzy and posted it without a second thought, racking up 500 views overnight. Her subscriber count ticked to 1,000, and she grinned like she'd cracked a secret code.
These kids are so easy, Amelia. They scream, I film, and the world eats it up.
Encouraged by the response, Lila took her pranks beyond school, her greed pushing her to bolder and meaner territory. At the local mall, she'd fake dramatic collapses in crowded stores, crumpling near clothing racks or in the food court, with her phone set to capture everything. Shoppers would freeze, some rushing to her side, others calling for help. When Lila saw them panicking, she would spring up, laughing and revealing the prank as she grabbed her phone and ran. One video showed an elderly woman clutching her purse, trembling as she tried to dial 911, only for Lila to skip away, giggling. She titled that one, Mall Meltdown Mania, and it hit 5,000 views in a day. Her subscribers, which has reached 5,000, praised her and asked for more. By 14, her pranks had gotten crazier and she had 10,000 followers. She started targeting strangers with lies, weaving stories to spark chaos. She'd take people's children at the park, watch them search for their kids, and return the kids to the family after a while. She'd video them arguing, accusing each other of negligence. One of her Lost Kid Chaos videos showed a mother nearly getting a heart attack after discovering her kid was missing. That particular video had over 15,000 views, and she bragged about it at dinner.
These people are so gullible, Amelia.
Soon, she began racking hundreds of dollars in. She bought better equipment, like a GoPro for sneaky angles. Her stunts became elaborate, crossing lines I couldn't even fathom. One Saturday, she poured liquid soap across a mall's floor near an escalator and hid in a nearby store with her camera rolling. Shoppers slipped, their bags flying. A mother with a stroller almost fell. A teen's smoothie splattered. An older man fell hard. Lila couldn't stop laughing as she edited the clips later, adding cartoon Boeing sounds to the crashes. Slip and Slide Shenanigans exploded with 50,000 views, and her subscribers, which has now 30,000, called her Savage and the Prank Queen. One day, she hired a classmate called Ethan to stage a fake robbery outside a gas station at dusk. Ethan wore a ski mask and waved a toy gun, shouting at customers to get on the ground, while Lila filmed from a parked car across the lot. A family screamed, a woman dropped her phone in terror, and a man lunged at Ethan, thinking he was real. Lila called it off just as the man slapped Ethan. She and Ethan were laughing hysterically as she grabbed her camera and fled. The video hit 100,000 views, but it made me feel sick, watching strangers' raw fear, knowing Lila had orchestrated it for clout. Another time, she targeted a public library, rigging a study room with fake blood and a hidden speaker blaring tortured screams. She waited outside, filming as patrons ran out, some crying, others shouting about a possible attack. A librarian who'd even once helped Lila with a school project collapsed. Lila didn't even care. She also staged a fake charity scam at a farmer's market, posing as a volunteer collecting donations for a made-up orphanage. She'd pocket the cash, then accidentally drop a fake wad of bills, filming as vendors and shoppers argued over who it belonged to. One video showed two men nearly fighting over the fake money. It got 80,000 views, and her subscribers kept praising her. Our parents tried to talk to her. Our dad sat her down one day after work and begged her to stop those pranks. Our mom also pleased with her in tears, warning her about the lives she was ruining. I talked to her too, but her greed was a fortress, blocking our voices. She'd roll her eyes and pretend to be listening while her mind was already plotting her next viral hit.
Lila, this isn't fun anymore. You're playing with people's emotions. Stop before it's too late.
You're all jealous I'm making bank. I'm a star and you can't stand it.
We didn't know that as we were speaking to her, she was recording everything. The next day, she posted the video and titled it, "My Family Hates My Hustle." Her subscribers unleashed a wave of hate, calling our pathetic control freaks, and me a jealous loser trying to sabotage Lila's glow-up. I felt so sad, like I'd been betrayed by my own blood. Lila didn't apologize. In fact, she bragged about the video's 250,000 views. Her greed was consuming her morals, her family, and even her soul. By 15, her channel had 200,000 subscribers, and she was earning thousands monthly from ads, merch, and brand deals. She bought designer jackets, a new iPhone, even a drone for cinematic prank shots. Her room was like a shrine to her success, overflowing with packages and camera gear. She didn't care who she hurt, whether it was strangers, her classmates, or even us, her family. As long as the views poured in, she was okay. When we thought at least she wouldn't do anything crazier than she'd done, then came the dare that changed everything. Lila's subscribers, egged on by her reckless content, started pushing her to go bigger. One commenter dared her to film a prank in the Hollow, which was a notorious neighborhood on the edge of town. Everyone knew the Hollow was a no-go zone. It was a maze of crumbling buildings where gangs ruled, and even cops didn't dare to go there. Everyone avoided it like a plague. But Lila saw the dare as her ticket to 1 million subscribers. She announced she'd go live from the Hollow, promising the ultimate prank that would break the internet. I begged her not to go. So did our parents. Lila, people die there. You're not invincible. You shouldn't go there. What's come over you?
You're all scared of nothing. My fans want this, and I'm giving it to them. I'll be a legend.
The next evening, Lila snuck out to the Hollow with her camera and tripod. She went live as she stood on the street. 300,000 viewers tuned in within 5 minutes. She planned to prank a group of locals by pretending to be a lost tourist, then accidentally dropping fake money to spark a fight. But the Hollow wasn't a mall or a gas station. It was a predator's den, and Lila was prey. She approached a group of girls lounging on a stoop. Lila started her act, babbling about being lost, but the girls weren't amused. One snatched her camera, and when Lila tried to grab it, they attacked her. The live captured everything. The girls beat her up so mercilessly. Lila screamed and begged for forgiveness, but the girls refused to stop. Her viewers watched as the girls continued pounding her, kicking her ribs, stomping her ankle, punching her face until one eye was swollen shut and her lips ballooned with blood. Lila crawled away, barely conscious, and collapsed on the roadside. A kind truck driver passing through was the one who found her and rushed her to the hospital. Meanwhile, her subscribers turned on her. Comments flooded in, mocking her as a gullible fool and fake tough girl. Overnight, her follower count plummeted from 200,000 to 20,000, her fans abandoning the queen they'd once worshipped. At the hospital, doctors revealed that she had a broken rib, a fractured ankle, a concussion, and severe bruising. Her face was like a map of pain, looking all purple and swollen, one eye useless, her lips split and bleeding. According to them, she'd limp for years, maybe even forever. Mom and Dad visited her. They looked so sad and angry. They also refused to pay for her treatment, saying she'd brought this on herself. All Lila's YouTube earnings went to medical bills, draining her account to zero. When she was discharged, she came home a shell of the girl she'd been. Her limp was really pronounced, and her face was scarred. Her confidence was also gone. She begged Mom and Dad to transfer her to a new school, desperate to escape the shame waiting for her.
No, Lila, you made these choices. Now you face them.
School was brutal. Her classmates had seen the live stream, shared clips, and turned her pain into a meme. They laughed as she limped through the halls, whispering "prank queen" and "hollow loser." Boys mimicked her screams and girls sneered at her scars. Lila, once the untouchable star, was now nothing. She'd cry in her room at night, begging me to help her, but I couldn't erase what she'd done. Her greed had built this cage, and now she was trapped inside.
Amelia, I'm sorry. I didn't know it'd end like this. I just wanted to be somebody.
I pitied her, but I was angry too. She'd hurt so many people, all for views and money. Her apology couldn't undo the pain she'd caused. Still, I sat with her sometimes, listening as she mourned the life she'd lost. Even as I graduated high school a year later and started college, Lila remained stuck, limping through her sophomore year. She couldn't take pictures or videos because she was traumatized. My parents eventually forgave her and tried to help her, but she seemed to be really traumatized. She'd learned the hardest lesson that greed devours everything. She's in college now, still suffering. She's unable to make friends or appear on camera. She's my sister, so regardless of what she did, I'm still hoping she gets over the trauma one day. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. One day, my phone accidentally rang out loud in Mrs. Agatha's class. When I checked, it was my mom. I became afraid because my mom never called me during class. I had a blind and crippled mother. Leaving her alone daily was bad enough. I tried to excuse myself to answer the call, but Mrs. Agatha wasn't having it.
Is your mother stupid to not know that you'll be in class now? Does being blind and crippled make a person senseless? If you answer that call, I'll make sure you get expelled.
Ma'am, it's important. My mom would never call during school hours if it wasn't. Please, ma'am, I beg of you to let me answer it. She stood up and began walking toward me. Before I could process anything, she slapped me harshly. I screamed and held the affected face in my hand.
How dare you talk back to me? Who do you think you are to try arguing with me?
She took my phone from me and smashed it on the floor, even going as far as using her foot to stomp on it. I couldn't stop crying as I returned to my seat. When I got home that day, I received news that my mom had been hospitalized. Apparently, she fell from the top of the stairs and was taken to the hospital by our neighbor. My college was known for being one of the best and having students being in high places. However, Mrs. Agatha, the head professor, ruled the school with an iron fist. Hi, my name's Lily, and I'm 29 years old. In my college days, I belonged in a group of fellow classmates. We were just 5, Maxwell, Annie, Sasha, Jason, and myself. We weren't the best students, but we weren't bothered. Don't get me wrong. We studied very hard and never missed classes, but some students seemed to be intellectually better than us, so they bagged the top 5 while we were following behind them. We were good students. We never broke the school rules and always ensured to be good to each other and the other students. Unfortunately, Mrs. Agatha seemed to have a huge problem with us. I mean, she was also a menace to other students, but ours was worse. It seemed as though she held a special hatred for us. If we'd offended her at any point, her actions might have been justified, but we never did. No one dated to offend Mrs. Agatha. She was just plain evil. We were all gathered in the lecture hall one day for a major class. It was a rainy day, but the sound of the students conversing covered the sound of the rain by half. We were all talking and having fun while waiting for Mrs. Agatha to speak. That is, until Sasha stumbled in, drenched to the bone. She had been held back by the rain while returning from her part-time job and had barely made it to class on time. Sasha was an orphan, and she didn't have nice, extended families. Hence, she did everything all by herself. The teachers at school knew about all of her part-time jobs. She was also a scholarship student, and that helped her out a lot. Dr. Evans, our professor who also knew about Sasha, gestured for her to take a seat and catch up on the lecture later. But Mrs. Agatha, who was auditing the class that day, was having none of it.
The orphan has no right to sit down yet.
Sasha stood there, shivering from the cold and anger. She hated when people addressed her as an orphan in a mocking way.
How dare you come to class like this? Do you not care about the standards here?
Sasha was still trembling. She tried to explain herself, but she couldn't. Her voice was shaky.
Leave this room immediately. You're disrupting the class.
We all sat in stunned silence as Sasha hurried out of the room. It was a moment of collective discomfort, watching our friend being treated that way. As if that wasn't enough, the next day, Mrs. Agatha took her anger out on us all in the group. In front of the crowd watching, she reprimanded us, making it clear that we were all guilty by association. We had failed to maintain the standards, and were collectively scolded, our morale further bruised. Another time, during a debate competition that we had prepared for weeks, Mrs. Agatha was one of the judges. Our group had put in countless hours of work, rehearsing and refining our arguments. We were nervous but hopeful as we presented our case. After our presentation, the other judges praised us. Seemingly impressed, Mrs. Agatha's feedback was nothing close to impressed.
Your performance was weak and lacked originality. Are the 5 of you dumb? Were you all too busy being stupid that you forgot that you were supposed to prepare intensively for this?
We were too lost for words. She picked apart each of us, targeting our weaknesses and attacking us with them. We sat there, our faces burning with humiliation as we tried to hold back our frustration. The mixed reactions from the audience only added to our discomfort. Eventually, she made us lose the debate and punished us for losing. Another time, we had organized a charity event as part of a class project. We poured our hearts into it, working long hours to make it a success. Mrs. Agatha attended, and instead of offering encouragement, she criticized every minor flaw. She mocked our efforts in front of the attendees, dismissing the event as amateurish and a waste of resources. Her comments overshadowed the positive impact we had hoped to make. One day, my phone accidentally rang out loud in Mrs. Agatha's class. When I checked, it was my mom. I became afraid because my mom never called me during class. I had a blind and crippled mother. Leaving her alone daily was bad enough. I tried to excuse myself to answer the call, but Mrs. Agatha wasn't having it.
Is your mother stupid to not know that you'll be in class now? Does being blind and crippled make a person senseless? If you answer that call, I'll make sure you get expelled.
Ma'am, it's important. My mom would never call during school hours if it wasn't. Please, ma'am, I beg of you to let me answer it. She stood up and began walking toward me. Before I could process anything, she slapped me harshly. I screamed and held the affected face in my hand.
How dare you talk back to me? Who do you think you are to try arguing with me?
She took my phone from me and smashed it on the floor, even going as far as using her foot to stomp on it. I couldn't stop crying as I returned to my seat. When I got home that day, I received news that my mom had been hospitalized. Apparently, she fell from the top of the stairs and was taken to the hospital by our neighbor. It was him who'd called me. Time passed, and Mrs. Agatha never changed her behavior, especially toward us. There were also times when she tried to put us against each other. The woman was seriously bent on destroying our friendship. One of those times was a period we had a fight. There was an argument, and before it got too heated, we'd angrily departed from each other. Somehow, Mrs. Agatha had come to know about the argument. She called us into her office one after the other.
I heard Maxwell saying he feels disgusted being friends with an orphan like you, Sasha. He also complained that your habitual lateness is the reason they often fail their tasks.
Sasha had cried out of the office because she felt so bad about hearing what Maxwell had allegedly said. She did the same to the members of the group, including me.
Lily, I can't believe you talk bad about me behind my back. You even swore to kill me first when you get a gun. Don't you think that's being rude and cruel?
I'd never said that about Mrs. Agatha. I hated her, yes, but not to the point of planning to kill her. I didn't even have any plans of getting a gun.
Annie told me everything you always say about me, and I must confess, you've got a lot of horrible things in that head of yours. Just so you know, none of those in your silly friend group likes you. In fact, they're planning to kick you out.
I was vulnerable at the time, so I believed her words. I decided to stay away from my friends. I wanted to make it easier for them to drop me. When I saw that the group was back and they were still not talking to me, my heart bled. I cried so much for days because I thought I'd lost my best friends. Until one day, when they approached me.
Please, forgive us if we offended you. After our fight, Mrs. Agatha had called us all and told us lies about each other. When we all figured out that she lied, we didn't know how to come to you, especially because you were also avoiding us. Please, come back to the group.
I burst into tears and hugged them. That day, my hatred for Mrs. Agatha increased. I wanted to find every way to get back at the woman. Luckily, my friend group were also eager to get revenge on her.
She's been too bad to us. If we don't stop her, I'm afraid she's going to do more. Trying to put us against each other for the 4th time is bad enough already.
We all agreed and began to think of a way to get revenge against her and get her off our backs. We finally got a plan. The plan was audacious. It involved a series of meticulously coordinated pranks designed not just to disrupt, but to humiliate Mrs. Agatha in front of everyone. Our target was the spring fair, the school's biggest event, where Mrs. Agatha was sure to be present. On the day of the spring fair, the school was alive with excitement. Mrs. Agatha, in her usual stern manner, roamed the event, oblivious to what was about to come. As the fair reached its peak, we began our plan. Firstly, a hidden mechanism triggered an explosion of harmless but eye-catching confetti. It was a minor distraction, but it set the tone for what was to come. Just as she stood at the front of the hall, Maxwell popped 2 balloons above her head, causing blue color to rain down on her, turning her hair and body into a shimmering spectacle. The students' attention was immediately turned to her as she screamed. They couldn't hold their laughter, and neither could we. Just as she was about to speak, she got called on the stage to give her tradition speak. We saw the frustration on her eyes and got gingered for the next revenge. Just as she got on the stage, Sasha began walking on the microphone. Everybody went silent as an embarrassing video began playing. It was one of her harsh reprimands, where she'd told an asthmatic student to die already.
You should just die already. I can't have you breathing all heavily and running out of class because of your silly disease.
Gasps were heard in the audience. Another video of her suggesting how I wanted to be killed was played.
Since you're nothing but a failure, shouldn't you start making suicide plans? You could stand in the middle of the road and get killed by a car or even jump into the sea.
Everyone gasped again. Mrs. Agatha couldn't face the crowd. Before anyone could speak, we unveiled a giant inflatable caricature of Mrs. Agatha. It depicted her in a grotesque, exaggerated form, complete with a wicked grin and exaggerated features. The caricature was paraded around the fairgrounds, and students laughed loudly as it wobbled and danced, a symbol of Mrs. Agatha's fall from power. Furious, Mrs. Agatha tried to regain control. As she stomped towards the mic, she slipped on a slick patch of fake mud that we had carefully placed there. The fall was dramatic, and Agatha's pride was left in tatters as she lay sprawled on the ground, covered in the fake mud and surrounded by the loud and unending laughter of the crowd. The school board, having witnessed the full extent of our revolt and Mrs. Agatha's disgrace, had no choice but to take action. An immediate investigation was launched, revealing a pattern of abuse and misconduct that left no doubt about Mrs. Agatha's unfitness for her role. She was swiftly removed from her position, her reputation irrevocably damaged. We also heard that she was divorced by her husband, who took a large portion of her money, leaving her broke. On top of that, she had to pay child support. Her children eventually abandoned her after enduring years of mistreatment. In the end, she was left all alone with no family by her side. She fled the state because people mocked her whenever they saw her. She moved to a different city in search of work, but it was difficult because her videos were online and she couldn't find employment. Eventually, she found a job at a care home, taking care of the elderly. She lived in a tiny house with 3 cats, struggling to survive on the little she earned. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.
My name is Warren Butcher, and I've been a police officer in the town of Grangeville for almost 15 years. It's a small community where everyone knows everyone else, where I was born and raised. I used to think this was the perfect place to serve and protect. That was until the Hamilton boys and their friends started their reign of terror. It began innocently enough. Some toilet paper in trees, a few mailboxes knocked over. Standard teenage mischief that I'd dealt with countless times before. But then things started to change. The pranks became more frequent, more elaborate, and increasingly destructive. The first real escalation happened during the town's annual spring festival. I was on patrol when I got the call. "Officer Butcher, we've got reports of vandalism at the community center. Multiple calls coming in." "Copy that. I'm 5 minutes out." When I arrived, I found our community center's walls covered in explicit graffiti. Not just random tags, but targeted messages about the mayor, the school principal, and several prominent business owners. Hours of work had gone into this prank, and thousands of dollars would be needed to fix it. As I was documenting the scene, I spotted them watching from across the street, Jason and Michael Hamilton, along with Craig Donovan and Tyler Watkins. All 17, all smirking. They didn't even try to hide. "Boys, I need to speak with you." "Now, what's up, Officer Butcher? Something wrong?" "You know damn well what's wrong. This has your fingerprints all over it." "You got proof of that?" "Because our dad always says you need evidence before making accusations." Their father, Robert Hamilton, was the town's most successful attorney. Their mother sat on the school board. The Donovans owned half the real estate in town, and the Watkins family ran the local bank. These weren't just any teenagers. They were untouchable, and they knew it. I brought them in for questioning anyway. Within an hour, all 4 sets of parents arrived at the station, outraged not at their sons, but at me. "This is harassment, Warren. My boys were at home all night. We have security cameras that prove it." "Robert, the footage can be doctored. You know that."
Are you calling us liars now? This is exactly why the town council has been questioning the police budget. Perhaps we need officers who don't waste resources harassing children.
The boys were released without charges. No consequences. Not even a warning. And that was just the beginning. 2 weeks later, someone sabotaged the irrigation system at the high school football field the night before a big game, flooding it completely. The game had to be canceled, costing the school thousands in concession sales. A month after that, all the tires on the teachers' cars were slashed during a parent-teacher conference. 28 cars in total. Then came the incident at old Mrs. Carpenter's house. She'd lived alone since her husband died and had always been kind to everyone in town. One night, someone set off industrial-grade fireworks in her backyard at 3 a.m. The explosion shattered her windows and sent her to the hospital with a stress-induced heart attack. She could have died. Each time, I knew who was responsible. Each time, I had circumstantial evidence at best. And each time, their parents provided alibis and threatened legal action against the department. After Mrs. Carpenter's incident, I confronted Chief Harkins. "Chief, we can't keep letting them get away with this. It's escalating. Someone's going to get seriously hurt." "What would you have me do, Warren?" "The Hamiltons have donated the funds for our new patrol cars. The Donovans just pledged $500,000 to the municipal building renovation. And need I remind you that Mayor Watkins is Tyler's uncle? So we just let them terrorize the town because their families have money and influence?" "We pick our battles, Warren. That's the reality of small-town policing. Document everything, build a case slowly, and wait for them to make a big enough mistake." "And how many people get hurt while we wait?" "That's enough, Officer Butcher. This conversation is over." I left his office seething. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mrs. Carpenter in her hospital bed, about the fear in her eyes when I took her statement, about how the boys had laughed when I questioned them, knowing they were untouchable. Something inside me shifted that night. If the system wouldn't hold these kids accountable, maybe I needed to create a situation where they couldn't wiggle out of the consequences. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Through the grapevine, I heard they were planning something big for Halloween night. Something to make the town remember them. One of their girlfriends had let it slip to my nephew, who told me thinking I could finally catch them. According to the intel, they planned to break into the abandoned Millbrook quarry and set up an elaborate prank involving the old mining equipment. The quarry had been closed for decades, deemed unsafe due to unstable rock formations and deep water-filled pits. It was strictly off-limits, with multiple warning signs and a fence surrounding the property. Breaking in there wasn't just trespassing, it was putting themselves in serious danger. Halloween night came, and I volunteered to patrol the quarry area. I told the chief I had a hunch something might happen there. He didn't question it. I parked my cruiser out of sight and waited. At around 11 p.m., I spotted them. 4 shadows slipping through a cut section of fence, carrying backpacks and what looked like climbing gear. I could have intercepted them right then. That's what protocol suggested. But years of watching them escape consequences made me hesitate. I needed irrefutable evidence this time, something their parents couldn't explain away. So I decided to follow at a distance, document their trespassing, and catch them in the act of whatever vandalism they were planning. I gave them a 15-minute head start before I followed through the fence opening, flashlight off, moving silently through the quarry grounds. I could hear their voices echoing off the stone walls as they climbed higher into the old excavation area. This is going to be epic. When people see the quarry lit up tomorrow morning, the whole town will lose their minds. My dad's construction flares will make this place visible from miles away. We'll be legends. Just make sure you set them exactly where I marked on the map. We need them to spell out the message perfectly. They were planning to set up some kind of massive flare display. Dangerous, but not immediately life-threatening to anyone but themselves. I continued to follow, gathering evidence with my body cam, waiting for the right moment to confront them. That's when I heard the first rumble. Small stones clattered down from above. The boys had climbed onto an unstable outcropping, one clearly marked with danger signs they'd either missed or ignored in the darkness. Hey, did you guys feel that? It's fine. Don't be such a baby. No, stay where you are. That section isn't stable. I shined my flashlight on them, finally revealing my presence. For once, they looked scared instead of smug. It's Butcher! Run! No, stay where you are. That section isn't stable. But they panicked. Jason and Tyler started scrambling higher up the rock face, while Michael and Craig tried to move laterally across the outcropping. The vibration of their sudden movements was all it took. With a sickening crack, the rock shelf gave way. I watched in horror as all 4 boys plummeted downward, along with several tons of loose stone and dirt. Their screams echoed through the quarry before being cut short by the impact. I radioed for emergency services immediately and rushed to where they had fallen. The scene was chaotic, dust still settling, rocks continuing to shift. Jason had landed on a lower ledge about 15 feet down, injured but conscious. Tyler was nearby, unconscious but breathing. Michael and Craig had fallen much further, into one of the deeper sections of the quarry. This is Officer Butcher. I need multiple ambulances at the old Millbrook quarry immediately. 4 teenagers down, multiple injuries, possible spinal trauma. Send rescue teams with climbing equipment. The next few hours were a blur of emergency lights, rescue workers, and the boys' parents arriving on scene, their faces transformed from their usual arrogance to raw terror. When the dust settled, the toll was severe. Jason had escaped with a broken arm and concussion. Tyler suffered a shattered pelvis and internal bleeding. Michael had a traumatic brain injury that would require months of rehabilitation, and Craig would never walk again due to a spinal cord injury. The investigation that followed was thorough, but straightforward. My body cam had captured everything: their trespassing, their plans for the dangerous prank, my warning, and their panicked reaction that led to the collapse. Far from being blamed, I was commended for my quick response in calling emergency services, which likely saved their lives. For once, there were no alibis from their parents, no threats of lawsuits against the department. The evidence was irrefutable, and the consequences undeniable. The boys were charged with criminal trespassing, vandalism, and reckless endangerment. Due to their injuries, the court was lenient with sentencing, but all four received probation and community service. More importantly, they would carry the physical consequences of their actions for the rest of their lives. 2 weeks after the accident, Robert Hamilton came to see me at the station. The usual swagger was gone, replaced by the haunted look of a father who had nearly lost his son. "Officer Butcher, I owe you an apology. If you hadn't followed them that night, if you hadn't called for help so quickly." "I was just doing my job, Robert." "No, you've been trying to do your job for years, and we've been standing in your way. We thought we were protecting our kids, but we were just teaching them they could do whatever they wanted without consequences. And now look what's happened." The town of Grangeville changed after that Halloween night. The attitude of entitlement that had protected those boys for so long dissolved in the face of nearly losing them. Their parents became advocates for stricter enforcement of rules and consequences. The mayor, Tyler's uncle, pushed through funding for youth programs and community service initiatives. As for the boys, their recovery was both physical and moral. I still see them around town sometimes. Jason and Tyler have mostly healed, though Tyler walks with a slight limp. Michael still struggles with memory issues. Craig navigates the town in a wheelchair now, a permanent reminder of that night at the quarry. They don't smirk when they see me anymore. Sometimes they nod. Sometimes they look away in shame. But the pranks have stopped. The destruction has ended. I wish it hadn't taken such a terrible accident to make that happen. I wish they had listened to all the warnings, mine and others, before it came to this. But sometimes, the hardest lessons are the ones that leave a permanent mark. I still patrol this town every day, still protect and serve to the best of my ability. But I do it with a heavier heart now, knowing that sometimes justice comes at a price no one should have to pay. Thanks for watching.
And then it all made sense. We traveled to another country for vacation, and one night while I slept, my parents packed up all theirs and my siblings' belongings and left, leaving me behind in the hotel all alone. When I woke up and found them gone, I went and spoke to the hotel staff and asked them for help. However, there was nothing they could do. My parents checked in under an alias and a fake phone number, effectively abandoning me there. I had no identification and no way to contact my family. Eventually, I was placed in an orphanage, and honestly, I fell into a bit of depression. Apparently, my parents left me because, in their eyes, my hobby wouldn't make them any money, which was all they cared about. They saw me as useless, so they left me at the hotel. Hi there. My name is Nancy, and I was born to a family that was awful. They just plainly sucked. My parents always just viewed me and my siblings as a means to become wealthy. I was the middle child, and I had an older brother, Tommy, and a younger sister, Carol. Sadly, my parents never even tried to hide what they expected of us, and the pressure from them was awful. They would constantly say that if we failed to live up to their expectations, that they would get rid of us. The pressure they put on us was almost too much to bear.
Hey, Nancy, your teacher told us about your grade slipping. We can't believe you would fail us like this. If you and your siblings don't get good grades, then you won't get good careers, and you won't get good salaries. How will you take care of us if you don't?
Sorry, Mom, I really tried.
Not hard enough. You really need to stop making excuses and stop being a complete loser.
I wish I could say that comparing our grades was the only way that our parents would push on us, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. They would also have us do all kinds of extracurricular activities in the hope of finding something that we were incredibly talented at. For my older brother, it was soccer, and he was actually really a skilled player. For my sister, she was always good at math and the sciences, which was always not enough for my parents. As for me, I was able to play any musical instrument very well. The problem was that my parents didn't see how that would ever make them rich, and music lessons were too expensive in their minds. It didn't help that I started talking back to them. I just couldn't help it. I just couldn't see why it was our responsibility to make them rich. Saying as much was the worst thing I could do, though.
Nancy, you need to find a much better hobby. We aren't going to pay money to have you keep playing games. Music is not going to make money for us anyways.
It doesn't have to be about money, though. Why can't I just learn to play music because it makes me happy?
Because we are paying for it, and we aren't going to pay for something that won't make us money.
Why does it have to make money? And what makes you think I'll share my money with you guys even if I did become rich?
If it doesn't make money, then it's a complete waste of time.
When they felt that we weren't living up to our potential, they would punish us. Sometimes it would be by hitting us, but at other times they would refuse to give us food until we showed that we had learned our lesson. While at other times they would just yell at us until we cried. It was just awful. By the time that I was 8, my parents started acting very odd towards me. They refused to hug me or give me any affection at all. And then it all made sense. We traveled to another country for vacation, and one night while I slept, my parents packed up all theirs and my siblings' belongings and left, leaving me behind in the hotel all alone. When I woke up and found them gone, I went and spoke to the hotel staff and asked them for help. However, there was nothing they could do. My parents checked in under an alias and a fake phone number, effectively abandoning me there. I had no identification and no way to contact my family. Eventually, I was placed in an orphanage, and honestly, I fell into a bit of depression. Apparently, my parents left me because, in their eyes, my hobby wouldn't make them any money, which was all they cared about. They saw me as useless, so they left me at the hotel. Granted, my family was a bit toxic, but I didn't know any other life. Being abandoned by them was crushing. It took nearly a year before the hurt and pain they caused finally began to lessen. As luck would have it, a young couple came to the orphanage and was looking at all of the children. In order to make the kids feel more comfortable, the man went and started playing a piano that we kept in the main recreation room. While he played, I snuck up and sat down next to him and joined in and started playing as a duo. I could tell that he very much enjoyed playing alongside me, and after we played several songs, he and his wife began to ask questions about me. When I told them how I arrived at the orphanage, they were heartbroken and they vowed to adopt me that very day. True to their word, they adopted me and brought me home with them. My new father, who was named Grant, played for an orchestra and taught music lessons to dozens of people, while my new mother, Tanya, was an opera singer. They both treated me with a great deal of respect and patience. It felt so odd to finally have parents that actually loved me, and over time I grew to love them as if they were my true parents. I learned to play so many instruments from my father, and I developed my voice and was able to sing just as well as my mother as well. When I was old enough, my parents insisted that I attend college and earn a degree in music, which I did. It made it so much easier that they paid for it. After I graduated, I started participating in the operas and concerts that they participated in. It didn't take long for me to develop a name for myself, and people began to recognize my talent and know my name. Soon enough, I became an attraction, and I started having concerts of my own. Grant and Tanya couldn't have been more proud, and they encouraged me to take all the money I made and invest it so that I could enjoy the fruits of my labor. I tried to offer them money more than once as a way to pay them back for helping me develop my talents, but they always insisted that no repayment was necessary. We were a family, and that was just what families do. I was blown away with how amazing they were. But of course, the good times could only last for so long. After a few months, I began receiving letters from my biological parents. They had found out that I was a successful artist and they wanted to know when they could come and see me. I knew instantly what they actually wanted. I was now making good money as a singer and as part of an orchestra, but I always just threw their letters away. There was no way that I was going to let those fools who abandoned me come back into my life. Then after a show one night, I saw them and found out the reason why they were suddenly back in my life.
Nancy, is that you? Oh wow, you've grown into such a beautiful woman.
Mom? Dad? Carol? What are you doing here?
Oh, we just came to see your show. You put on quite the performance.
Thanks. So why are you actually here?
It's because Tommy died, and they have no prospects on getting rich off of us.
I could tell that Carol was not at all interested in playing along with our parents' charade, and she told me that Tommy had been accepted into a college for a scholarship to play soccer, and it was looking like he was going to become a pro athlete and make a lot of money, which made our parents ecstatic. However, the pressure and stress got to him, and he turned to using drugs, and they eventually led to him overdosing and passing away. As for Carol, she tried her best but was never able to do well in college. She eventually graduated and even became a teacher, but that was never good enough for our parents. I told her all about my adopted parents, and she genuinely seemed happy for me. It broke my heart to know that she had been forced to live all those years with our parents while I was able to have a much better life with my adoptive parents. Once I had learned more about what had happened in the time that I was away from them, my parents began to get upset.
Carol, how dare you speak so ill of us and your brother? He was killed. He would never do drugs.
No, Mom. The stress from the pressure that you put on all of us combined with the amount of abuse we endured from you two was what drove him to drugs and eventually to his death. His blood is on your hands. Isn't it shocking that the only successful child of yours is the one that you abandoned and wasn't forced to live with you for the majority of their life?
That's enough, Carol.
And with that, our father slapped Carol really hard enough that she was knocked unconscious. I screamed for security, and they were surrounding my parents within seconds. Seeing these people made my father furious, and he began lashing out at them, which was as a terrible idea. The second that he showed aggression towards them, they quickly took him down and started punching and kicking him. Even my mother started to fight with them, and she was quickly knocked out and dragged away. I could only imagine how bad they both felt when they eventually woke up. After that, Carol and I reconnected, and we both realized that our parents were the worst. Carol had never made it rich, but she was a great teacher and she loved her job as well. In my opinion, she had done really well for herself, and I was proud of who she had become. My parents disagreed, of course, and they saw her as a loser. As for me, they determined that since they were my biological parents, that they were entitled to some of the wealth that I was beginning to generate, and they went to a lawyer to sue me for my money. Grant and Tanya paid for a much better lawyer, and without much effort, the lawsuit was easily dismissed. This enraged my parents, who felt that they were entitled to my money in spite of their discarding me when I was young. They still felt that I owed them and would often harass me outside my home or after a concert.
Hey, Nancy, come on. We aren't asking for much. Just give us enough money to take care of us. It doesn't matter who adopted you later. Deep down inside, you know that we are your real parents, and you owe us.
I don't owe you a damn thing. You and Mom were horrible people when I was a child, and you're horrible people now. That set my father off, and he lunged at me. However, I was no longer a defenseless 8-year-old girl. I was now a fully functional adult woman, and as he lunged towards me, I grabbed the nearest thing, which just so happened to be a violin, and I smashed it over my father's head. He went down like a sack of potatoes and was knocked out. My mother eyed me down, but was smart enough not to attack me and instead dragged my father away. Days later, they tried to have me arrested for assault, but I had many witnesses that confirmed that it was done in self-defense. The real kick was that my father suffered permanent brain damage from where I hit him and would need around-the-clock nurse care. To add salt to the wound, I had my lawyer file a lawsuit against my parents for the amount that the violin was worth. They had forced me to defend myself, and they ended up having to pay the $30,000 that the violin was worth. The day after the settlement was announced, Carol called me up and congratulated me on the victory against our parents. I am happy to say that I have since developed a good and healthy relationship with my sister, and she gets along with Grant and Tanya extremely well. They've even joked about unofficially adopting her as well. She even comes to many of my shows to support me and truly enjoys the music that I produce. It's been great, and my career is only just taking off. As for my parents, I have heard they are really struggling. Losing both the lawsuit they filed against me for my money and the lawsuit I filed to cover the cost of the violin I destroyed while defending myself from them has taken a heavy toll on their finances, to the extent that they had to sell their house. On top of that, my father's brain damage, which sometimes makes him act abnormally, has made things worse. My mom can't work full-time because she has to take care of him. She cooks for a school and rushes home every day to care for my dad, and now they both live in a tiny house. They were forced to declare bankruptcy, and instead of becoming rich from their children's achievements, they became poor because they drove their children away. Honestly, I don't feel any sympathy for them. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below saying, "I subscribed," and we'll try our best to reply to your comment. My parents would sometimes force us to drink alcohol even though we were underage, and when we got drunk, they would laugh and mock us for how we behaved. There were times when they would use us as bait. For instance, my father would leave us in the middle of a parking lot. After a few hours, we would get scared and start crying, and people would usually stop to try to help us. Sometimes people would offer to drive us home, and as we approached their car, our parents would jump out and either knock them unconscious or threaten them with a gun, and we would steal their belongings and their car. Hi there, my name is Stacy, and I need to tell my story, although I need to warn you that it isn't a very pleasant story. I haven't had the easiest life, but I have made some choices that did make it much better, and hopefully if you are in a similar situation, or just one that is awful, that hearing my story might help you. Maybe it will give you the inspiration that you need to help get you through whatever it is that you are experiencing. So to start things off, my family is terrible. Like, I don't want to undercut just how terrible they are, though. My parents were raised by con men and thieves, and fully embraced the lifestyles that they were shown. Aside from each other, they had no friends, as they would steal from nearly anyone, including family, if given the chance. There were so many times that they would go out and then come back hours later with all sorts of things that they had stolen from people's homes or businesses. My sisters Tara and Wendy would be super excited to see what our parents would bring home. To them, it was like Christmas morning every time they came back. For me, though, there was just something that really bothered me about what they were doing. I couldn't get past the fact that the people that they were robbing or conning would suffer from the loss of whatever it was that they took. I am unsure why, out of all my family, that such things bothered me, while everyone else was completely unfazed by my parents' activities.
Hey guys, we went out and got some great new electronics. Come see.
Wow, thanks, Mom and Dad.
This stuff isn't new. There's a label on this video game that has a name on it. You guys just stole it.
Yeah, so what? Are you ashamed that we did?
Well, it wasn't nice to steal this. I wouldn't want someone to steal my belongings.
You ungrateful little brat. You should appreciate what we do for you.
That sadly wasn't the first time that my father hit me, but it was the one time that I remembered the most, because the image of my sisters and mother laughing at my tears would forever be burned into my memory. After that day, I decided that I needed to get out of this house as soon as possible. I couldn't live with people like this. They were just so horrible, and I couldn't help but feel guilty every day as I knew where they were getting their money from. It made me sick to my stomach knowing that the food I was eating was either stolen or bought with money that was stolen from someone that probably had worked hard to get it. The guilt of living in such a family was beginning to take its toll on me mentally. However, the worst was yet to come. My parents would sometimes force us to drink alcohol even though we were underage, and when we got drunk, they would laugh and mock us for how we behaved. There were times when they would use us as bait. For instance, my father would leave us in the middle of a parking lot. After a few hours, we would get scared and start crying, and people would usually stop to try to help us. Sometimes people would offer to drive us home, and as we approached their car, our parents would jump out and either knock them unconscious or threaten them with a gun, and we would steal their belongings and their car. There were other times when they would give us a wagon filled with cookies and tell us to go door to door, trying to sell them like the Girl Scouts do, while we would be trying to sell the homeowners cookies. Our parents would sneak around the back and into the home and take as much as they could before the owner shut the door on us. But all that was nothing compared to the scheme that broke the spell they had on my sisters. When my older sister Tara turned 16, my parents took her out with them one night, and when they came back, she was crying and she had a black eye. I tried to console her and find out what happened, but she slapped me and just ran to her bedroom and slammed the door shut. What did you do to her?
Nothing. She just earned her keep, and if you don't stop asking questions, we'll do the same to you.
What does that mean?
It means shut up.
My mom then slapped me as well, and then went to the kitchen table and pulled out a stack of cash and started counting it. Seeing how much money there was on the table, I wore it exactly how they had gotten it, and I followed my sister's example and ran and hid in my bedroom. It terrified me to think what they were capable of. As I hid in my closet, my sister Wendy came into my room and found me crying.
What are you crying about?
But I know that they will probably do the same to us, and I really don't want to find out. It confused me, but Wendy came and sat down next to me and put her arms around me. For the first time in our lives, she showed me compassion. We sat there in my closet until the morning. When the sun came up, Wendy and I went into the kitchen and made breakfast as quietly as possible and brought some of it to Tara's room. She refused to open the door at first, but hunger made her eventually open it and let us in. After some time, we asked her what happened, and she told us that our parents had taken her to some random man's house. They then sold her to him, and he got undressed and was about to assault her when our father hit him over the head with something. However, the blow only made him angry, and the man lashed out and struck Tara, and then he turned towards our parents. Our father then pulled out a gun and shot the man. Tara wasn't sure if the man was dead, but she watched her parents go through the house until their mom found a box hidden behind the man's couch full of money. Once they found that, they all ran and left the man bleeding on the floor. I don't know why, but I wasn't the least bit shocked that my parents would do that to our sister, but I was grateful that the man hadn't had a chance to actually get his hands on her. I wouldn't have put it past our parents to sell any of us to such a person for money, actually. It was only a matter of time before they did it for real, and not just a part of a ruse. A month passed, and I couldn't help but notice that the night where my parents sold Wendy changed her and Tara. They began seeing things my way, and I was surprised when they started begging me to come up with a plan to get us out of our parents' house. The problem was that none of us were adults, and if we ran away, we had nowhere to go, and we knew that living on the streets would be too difficult for 3 defenseless girls. It was then that I came up with a really bad idea. I went on our computer, and with some effort, I managed to figure out who the man was that my parents had robbed, and I went and visited the man in the hospital. He had managed to survive the gunshot wound, but just barely.
Who the hell are you?
My parents were the ones that shot you and stole your money.
Oh yeah? Is that a fact? Then why are you stupid enough to come here?
Because I need a way to escape them, and I wanted to know if I were to tell you where to find them, if you would leave me and my sisters alone. I can even make sure that he can't fight back.
Fine. Yeah, I can agree to that. It's not like your sister did anything but sit there and cry anyways. Plus, I've heard a lot of things about your parents. They've stolen from friends of mine too. You do realize that we won't go easy on them, yeah?
I don't care. I just know my sisters and I need to get away from them. It was a bad idea, but I told him where we lived and when he could pay my parents a visit. On the day when he was going to show up, I snuck into my parents' bedroom and took all of the bullets my dad had for his gun, along with whatever money I could find, which was a couple $1,000s, and I put them in a backpack, and along with my sisters, we slipped out of the house. Hours later, we returned home to find police in our home, and when they saw us, they pulled us away and told us that our home was a crime scene. I pretty much knew what they were going to say, but I needed for them to confirm it for me. Apparently, shortly after my sisters and I left, the man and a few of his friends had broken into our home. Our father tried to defend himself, but without bullets, his gun was useless, and the man and his friends killed our parents. I knew that I should feel guilty or at least sad that my parents were gone, and that I had played a part in their deaths, but I just couldn't. After everything that they had put my sisters and I through, I had no sympathy for them. The police did an investigation, and they caught the man that had killed our parents along with his friends, and they went to prison. But as far as I was concerned, they had done us a huge favor. They had freed us from our parents who were most likely going to eventually get us either killed, sold as slaves, or something worse. The police took us to a halfway house where we stayed for a couple months until a woman we didn't recognize showed up one day. As it turned out, our father had a sister that he had never mentioned. Apparently, she was a lot like me and had ran away from home at a young age because she wanted nothing to do with the criminal activity that our family was involved in. It took some convincing, but we were handed over to her. It took months, but she eventually was able to get us to feel safe and secure with her. She worked as a lawyer for the city and prosecuted criminals, and I had to admit that she very quickly became a role model for me. Living with her, my sisters and I flourished, and she helped us get into college and onto good paths. Wendy has since become a nurse and spends a lot of free time volunteering at a homeless shelter preparing food. Tara became a therapist and specializes in helping people with trauma. And as for me, I went to law school, and I just started working for the city alongside my aunt. I figured that although I didn't pull the trigger and kill my parents, that my actions did lead to their deaths, and so I have some atoning to do. I figure that I can do so by helping to make the streets a safer place to live, and that by helping to put criminal in prison that I can do just that. I won't lie though. There are nights that I wake up from nightmares, but even so, if I had to go back in time and was given the chance to do things differently, I wouldn't. And that might make me a bad person, but what can I say? I was born this way. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.